So who is my guest this week? The Grand Slam tennis champion, Andy Murray. The career span of an elite athlete can be short, but this British tennis player has already packed a hell of a lot into his 35 years. 3 Grand Slam wins and a former world #1, he's battled injury to remain on the court, bagging tens of millions of dollars along the way. But for the greatest UK player since Virginia Wade, it's always been about more than the money. He's turned down endorsements and done things his own way. From his early years when some of the public were unsure of him, he's now ranked by pollsters as the most popular tennis player in the world. As he faces what could be his last Wimbledon, what does he do next? And can he avoid the pitfalls that occur for so many top sports players once they've quit their game? This is what's coming up. I know we're talking ahead of Wimbledon, of course. Do you have to go in believing you can win again?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's part of the motivation to still be out there competing. I know it's going to be even harder to win Wimbledon than it was 5-6 years ago. But yeah, I still believe, and I'm still working and training as hard as I can to try and achieve that goal.
You've been very influenced by strong women in your life, not least your mum, the pro tennis coach, of course, Judy Murray. And she recently wrote an article about being sexually assaulted at an awards dinner by a man sat next to her.
I was obviously really upset for her. I was pretty angry, but also I didn't know quite exactly what to say. It's a familiar story for a lot of women, and yeah, that sort of behaviour shouldn't be tolerated anywhere.
Andy Murray, hello. Thank you very much for talking to me.
Hi, how are you doing?
Do people call you Sir Andy, ever?
Rarely, no. Try to avoid that when I can.
Okay, no, I mean, you are a knight, so I just was remembering that. Do your kids ever call you it?
I don't think they're aware of it. They have started calling me Andy Murray, which I find pretty awkward. You know, they tend to do it when they're around their other friends to wind me up, so...
Well, it sounds like you've taught them well to wind you up already. Yeah. I love that. Andy Murray, from your children. I know we're talking ahead of Wimbledon, of course. Do you have to go in believing you can win again?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's part of the motivation to still be out there competing. I know, obviously, that's going to be an unbelievably difficult thing to do, but, you know, I do still believe that I've got great tennis in me. I know it's going to be even harder to win Wimbledon than it was 5-6 years ago, but yeah, I still believe, and I'm still working and training as hard as I can to try and achieve that goal. Yes,
well, I mean, we should say, in case people don't know, you've had a lot of pain, injuries, particularly around your hip, and you know, I read that you're inspired by the likes of Muhammad Ali and sports stars who make big comebacks. Is that part of the psychology?
For me, I came back to play tennis because I love it. That's why I came back to play. It's been something I've done since I was a really young kid, and you know, pretty much since my sort of teenage years, it's been the main thing in my life, and I've dedicated a lot of time to it. And I kind of realized when I was going through all of the injuries and pain and wasn't able to compete, like how much I did love it. And yeah, probably wish it at times, certainly earlier in my career, that I appreciated it a bit more and enjoyed it a little bit more than I did. Yes,
well, I mean, I'm fascinated by how individuals do cope with pain. I actually live with a condition called endometriosis, so I'm quite regularly in pain. Of course, everyone's pain is very subjective to them, and in your case, it stopped you at many moments from doing what you wanted, what you dream of, what you train of. How have you coped with pain?
Well, I think as athletes, you're used to sort of always having a certain level of pain from, you know, the training and the matches that you do, you know, and that's kind of normal. So I think most athletes probably have a relatively high sort of pain tolerance. But then with my hip, and I dealt with discomfort in my hip for probably 6 or 7 years until it basically, from one day to the next, went from, you know, I was ranked #1 in the world at the time to I literally can't walk properly anymore. And, you know, I couldn't extend my hip and was in constant pain every time, you know, even when I went to walk the dogs. And I think initially that's obviously difficult to deal with, but I think over time it's the consistency of the pain and it just being every single day that sort of wore me down. And I filmed a documentary during my sort of rehab and all the injuries and the surgeries and stuff.
Yes. And
when I watched that back, I kind of realized, which I didn't whilst I was going through it, like I was in a pretty bad place. So probably didn't deal with it particularly well, you know, in the end. But it had been going on for a long time and it was stopping me, you know, from doing what I love as well.
And I cannot wait to see you back at Wimbledon. I really, really can't. I did think about, though, when you were in that state, and I know about that film, I've watched that film that you made, I was thinking about whether you'd got to a place, but maybe it's premature to ask you this, but have you thought about how you will be happy or satisfied if you never win another Grand Slam? Yeah,
I mean, look, I don't expect that to happen. I still believe that I can do it, but you know, I got to a point before I had the operation that I had to contemplate not playing tennis again, and I was fighting and battling with that as well during the injury troubles. And you know, I knew that when I had the hip resurfacing that there was a chance I might not be able to play again, and I had to come to terms with that. Once I did, you know, I feel fine. I know that I'll be fine. If I had to stop playing tennis tomorrow, you know, I'll be absolutely fine. I've got a great family. I would obviously miss playing tennis, but I have lots to look forward to, you know, away from the tennis court.
Well, you're a fashion designer now, right? You've just been doing a photo shoot, I believe, a model and a fashion designer. Your sportswear range,
yeah.
Andy Murray.
Yeah.
Let me get this right, Andy Murray Castor. You know, that's your new calling, right?
Yeah. So, I mean, I wouldn't call myself a fashion designer. I don't know a whole lot about fashion, to be honest, but you know, I try and get involved as much as I can in terms of the way the clothes perform on the tennis court. That's something that interests me a lot. So I try and help with that. I test a lot of the kit and everything before I obviously have to perform in it and give feedback and try to make improvements to it where I can. But yeah, I let the fashion designers take care of the fashion side of things because I don't know a whole lot about that.
We can underestimate the power of clothes, and for you, I suppose it's something you wrap yourself in. It's a bit of an armour at the same time.
Yeah, I mean, it's really important for us, and you know, the shoes as well. You know, it can make a difference to your performance, and certainly like the clothes and you know, extreme conditions. Like we play in Australia where it's, you know, 40 degrees, and in like places like Miami where it can be, you know, 85–90% humidity. So you need to make sure that, you know, the materials and stuff that you're wearing, you know, are appropriate for the conditions. So yeah, it is important.
I just have to say, I talked about watching you, of course, as a Brit. I feel I've lived many moments with you, you know, on my knees, standing up, hiding behind the sofa, willing you on to win. But one of the things that I wanted to ask you was about your kind of fist pump that you do and that roar that you do to the crowd. What's going on there? What are you thinking about when people like me are watching you do that point after point after point?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just, well, a little bit is obviously trying to encourage yourself. But then, yeah, there's moments in a match where you're trying to engage with the crowd that are coming there to watch the tennis, hopefully be entertained, but to support one of the two players out there. And when people come to watch sporting events, they want to see that emotion. You know, hopefully, you know, it's positive emotion, but sometimes, you know, for me, it's you know, it's negative as well. You know, I wish I was able to control the negative emotions that I have, you know, when I'm playing better. But I feel like when I do it, you know, to the crowd and fist pump and, you know, get excited on the court, that, you know, I'm trying to engage the crowd.
No, and it's great to, of course, have crowds back and feed off that energy. What do you make of groaning and grunting whilst playing? What do you make of that? Some spectators find that not the best, but I wonder how it is as a player, and other spectators love it. I remember growing up watching Monica Seles, for instance.
There's a certain level that I think is okay and almost like natural when you're putting lots of effort into something, but when it's at a level that sounds and seems unnatural, then that's when it's maybe a little bit off-putting, and then some players are maybe doing it like so long that the ball's already getting hit by the opponent, you know, whilst they're grunting, and that, you know, is not good, because, you know, it should be a hindrance, really.
Yes, it's not their ball very much at that moment. No, I can only imagine. Well, we're just speaking about, of course, again, with regards to Wimbledon ahead of it. You will be very aware of the controversy going into this Wimbledon surrounding the decision to ban Russian and Belarusian players. You've acknowledged how complicated this decision is. You chose your words very carefully, and you have sympathy for the players who can't play and the authorities who have done this. It's a really difficult one, this, isn't it?
Well, my sympathies first and foremost are with the people in Ukraine, and what they're going through, and you know, in the grand scheme of things, like whether some tennis players are not able to play in an event or not, and whether there's, you know, ranking points on offer in the grand scheme of things is kind of irrelevant. You know, obviously know quite a few of the Russian players, and I'm friends with them, and I feel for them that they're not able to compete. I can appreciate that it may seem unfair to them, but I can also see, you know, Wimbledon's side and their point of view and the perspective that they have, and it's very complex. But at the end of it, you know, there's a war going on. You know, that's, you know, what people should be focusing on, and, you know, we want that to end as quickly as possible. And, you know, a tennis tournament isn't really that important, I don't think.
No, I think that's obviously the context, and a very important one to do. And I know you're an ambassador for UNICEF. I know you're also donating the proceeds of any of your payments or winnings this year to the effort to support children in particular in Ukraine. But I think what's very striking about you, Andy, is you have been outspoken about a number of issues over the years. You know, before, almost, not that it was fashionable, but you know, people in sport perhaps taking positions, whether it's about the mental health of young players, to sexism in sport as well, as something I know you care deeply about. Do you get more confident to share opinions as you get older, or less? Does it become easier or harder?
I think in some ways it becomes easier, because you're maybe, I don't know, when you're in your early 20s, you don't really know much about anything, really. And I'm not saying I know loads now, but I know a lot more now than I did then, and maybe, you know, trust my views a little bit better than I did then. And, you know, I also feel as well, like since I had children, that I want to make sure that, you know, I support things that are important to me, and that hopefully will maybe, you know, help the world that my children grow up in as well. So in some ways, yes, it does help as you get older. Maybe it becomes a bit easier to share your opinions, but at the same time, you know, with everything that goes on online nowadays, and everything, like, you know, online abuse and, you know, those sorts of things, at times you think, well, what's the point? I'll just say nothing, because, you know, it's an easier life that way as well. And, you know, I want to focus all my time and energy on my family and on my tennis. And, you know, when you do get involved in certain topics and subjects, you know, it attracts more attention, more questions, more time, you know, more comments online, and that can be quite tiring as well.
Yes, well, I mean, you mentioned your family there, of course, as well as 3 daughters and a son. You've been very influenced by strong women in your life, not least your mum, the pro tennis coach, of course, Judy Murray. And she recently wrote an article, and I remember reading it when it came out. And, you know, it's a terribly shocking but horribly familiar story to quite a lot of women, I have to say. She wrote about being sexually assaulted at an awards dinner by a man sat next to her. I just wonder, did you know already that story, and did she tell you she was going to share it?
My brother was aware of it. I wasn't. My mum did message me at the time to let me know that there was an article coming out about it. And yeah, I was obviously really upset for her. You know, I was pretty angry, but also I didn't know quite exactly what to say. And obviously, I messaged my mum. I called her the following day to talk to her to make sure that she was okay. And yeah, like you say, it's a familiar story for a lot of women, and yeah, that sort of behaviour shouldn't be tolerated anywhere.
I mean, she also wrote as part of this, which is a big part of what your mum has done, is, you know, women are made to feel the world of sport is not for us, and our presence is neither welcome nor important. And what I mean by that is your mum has done a lot of work to try and change that, you know, to be a big part of the world of sport. She is. I wonder, when you have thought about sexism and how women are perceived, you've of course also had a female coach yourself. That was a big story at the time, even though it shouldn't have been in many ways. How do you stop those men, it's not all men in sport, of course, but those men in sport making women feel like your mum described?
That's a good question, which I probably don't know all of the answers to. I think some of it probably comes from education, some of it probably comes from having more women around, so that it's not something that it seems out of the norm. Certainly, like you mentioned, I got a taste of that when I hired a female coach, and that was very rare. Like on the men's tour and the women's tour, there's very few women coaches, and I didn't think much of it at the time when I hired a female coach. Like, I'd never personally in my early 20s thought about it, because I'd always seen all of the top players all working with male coaches. I had a conversation with Darren Cahill, who's one of the top Australian coaches, and said, well, you know, what about speaking to some female coaches? And I was like, yeah, I mean, why not? Why wouldn't I do that? I then went down the route of employing Amelie Mauresmo, who is a former world #1 Wimbledon champion. And, you know, even when there was rumours about me potentially working with her, the comments that I was getting from fellow players, fellow coaches, was something I'd never experienced before. And that was when I realised that there was quite a big problem. And I think that until it becomes the norm that there is more than just the odd 1 or 2 female coaches on the tour out of, you know, 200 or 300, I think that it's probably always going to be an issue. But I mean, hopefully things are changing slowly.
Yes, I mean, I suppose when we look at the world of sport, and I know I'm broadening this out slightly, but I know you will have seen this, that recently Jake Daniels became the first active footballer to come out as gay. A lot of people have said that was very brave because of football and how football is perceived and how it is to be a footballer when it comes to being open about your sexuality. I wonder, when we talk about the world of sport, what was your reaction to that? And do you think it is getting better in being more reflective of the wider population and not the world it thinks it should present, but the world as it is?
I do think it is getting a bit better, and I think that was really positive that he felt comfortable enough to come out. And, you know, from what I've seen, most of the coverage, you know, has been extremely positive about it in the media. How that will play out at football grounds up and down the country, that will be, I guess, a bigger test. And hopefully it's, you know, his experience is really positive as well. And but yeah, you would think that, you know, certainly in tennis, there's been no male tennis players have come out as gay whilst they've still been playing. So you would, you know, a few have come out post career. So, you know, we maybe have to ask the question as to why that is the case and why, you know, they still don't feel comfortable to come out whilst they're still active. But I would hope that it would be viewed positively by all of the players, and that's certainly been the case on the female side.
So I didn't actually know that about male tennis players. I hadn't looked into that, but that's also interesting. I mean, is it a particularly behind the scenes? I don't know, when you're on tour, is there a lot of bravado and having to be macho, and I say that in inverted commas, you know, sort of being one way? Do you think that's what it's about, the conformity, perhaps?
I haven't seen it in terms of like sexuality. I think in in sport, there is always, well, certainly in male sport, like, you know, about being like a man, like tough and being a real man, and, you know, not showing any emotions and those sorts of things. And whether something like that would play a part in it, I've certainly found it difficult at times, like earlier in my career, to open up to the coaches and stuff that were around me, because I don't know, like showing emotions and these sorts of things were, you know, always seen as kind of being a weakness. You know, so I've seen it in that sense, but not, you know, in the locker rooms around someone's sexuality.
Yeah, but I mean, you've also spoken a lot about mental health and how younger players in particular do need more support, especially to try and be themselves when they suddenly find themselves in the spotlight. You mentioned their emotions and how you were early on in your career. I did spy, just before we started to talk, a recent Instagram post of you, smiling very broadly, holding a cup of coffee, saying, after years of being miserable and incapable of smiling, I wish I'd known that all I needed was a coffee. Is it fun owning that view that some people had of you, that you didn't really seem that happy at first?
Well, I wasn't that happy, and I was happy in certain aspects, but not. I didn't feel comfortable in front of a camera. You know, my life changed, you know, almost overnight from the first time I played in Wimbledon as an 18-year-old and got to the third round, and I wasn't ready for that. I wasn't prepared for that. It's difficult, I think, to prepare anyone. You know, to have that, to sort of no one in the streets knowing you, and, you know, you're just playing tennis and playing in front of 10, 15 people, to all of a sudden playing on, you know, the centre court at Wimbledon, you know, with millions of people watching on the TV, and getting followed by paparazzi back to your house and those sorts of things, and seeing your face on papers and everything, and, you know, comments and things that you might have said to your friends that you maybe made the mistake of, you know, saying in front of a camera. You know, all of a sudden you're getting sent abuse, people saying stuff to you up in the streets and these sorts of things, and it is really difficult. And you then would, I think, naturally go into your shell and not want to open up, and just, you know, put up a bit of a shield. And that's, you know, certainly what I did, and you know, was not that happy being in front of a camera, and did not feel comfortable in it. And I you know, it's my responsibility how I deal with you know, that side of things. But yeah, I don't think the media helped me through that period, and I don't think that probably enough is done to help young athletes prepare themselves for the spotlight at such a young age.
I am praying that you're going to win Wimbledon.
Thank you. Me too.
Are you praying or are you training? A bit of both.
I'm training. I don't pray.
Okay. I'm not sure I've put it quite into prayer yet, but I am really hoping. Let's put it like that. And when you roar with each fist pump, I'll be thinking of what you were saying about all of this. And it's a pleasure to talk to you, Andy Murray. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
And thank you for being with us. Until next time, stay safe and goodbye.